What's up, everybody? I'm back. It's time for some trade secrets, some deep lore, some of the greatest content you will ever see. Until the next time that you watch some content. Carlos. Hello, sir. I don't know what I did that for. Who else is here? I see Carlos in the Twitch chat. Nobody in YouTube chat yet. I'm going to be doing some session prep for tomorrow's main campaign game, Shadows of Archonia 2, episode 27. Hey, Carl. A dirty basement terrain. Good to see you. All right. So, tomorrow night's the big one. We haven't done our main campaign in a month. We took a little break from it for March because we wanted to devote some time to our Midlight City campaign, which is the distant future of Archonia. Campaign 2 already being the distant future of Campaign 1, Midlight City is even further than that. If you don't watch Archonia, if you don't watch Shadows of Archonia, the main show, or the main campaign, we have the world timeline there divided up into ages. Campaign 1 took place near the end of the Third Age and kicked off the Fourth Age. So Campaign 2 takes place 1,000,000 years later in the Fourth Age. And then Midlight City is what we're calling the Fifth Age. How did you get from the Fourth Age to the Fifth Age? We don't know yet. Yet to be revealed. So where are we at with episode 26? Well, we are in the city of Earthstall. I'm going to bring up a map for those of you who don't know anything about what I'm talking about. Let's see. I got a map somewhere around here. All right, yeah, so here is the original. Whoop, I didn't mean to put that in the document there. I just wanted to show you guys. There we go. Here is the Gray Sea region of Archonia in the Fourth Age. Now, this map is completely different than the first campaign map because the part of the result of the ending of the Third Age was the changing of the entire layout of the world. But, so our players started in Crystal Shore here, back in episode 1, last year sometime. And they have since sailed to, let's see, actually in episode 0 they were in Valcorna. But in our first streamed episode in Crystal Shore, since then, they've been to Zoltwarf. They went down to... This is the Orc Empire down here, Darjan Ra. See, everything up in Aklador. These are all independent city-states, but they have an alliance called the Allied Akladorian Navy, where they've all contributed ships to one giant navy to protect themselves from the Orc Empire of Darjan Ra. The Orcs rolled over all the other peoples who lived down here, and the only thing holding back the Empire from taking over the human lands is the Allied Akladorian Navy. But each city is nonetheless its own sovereign state. So the Brass Island, that's where Sally One-Eye is from, that's Yuri's character. Down here, this island that none of the rum lines go to, our players did visit it. It's not on most in-world maps. Our players visited that. That is the Indomitus, where the Ermin live. Ermin are unknown creatures to most of the world, just as they were in Campaign 1, but those few who have encountered them will never forget them. We're starting episode 27 here in Earthstall. Our players are on their way to Lowlight. everything I'm saying, by the way, is a huge spoiler. So if you care about that, watch something else. Also, if you're in this campaign, if you're going to be playing in the session tomorrow night, watch something else. This is spoilers. But Low Light, yes, this does connect to Midlight City. That's right. Also connects to Campaign 1. It's all a rich tapestry. But yeah, Low Light is where our player character, Eric Agier, a.k.a. Enenbeck III, a.k.a. Lorien, god of the elves, long story. He's the king of this place. He was the exiled prince. Oh, Carlos. Carlos says players find the appropriate snacks to bribe GM with food tomorrow. Choose wisely. Yuri's already on top of that, man. She texted me earlier about bringing sandwiches or pizza. I said sandwiches because we just had some pizza because I bribed Alan with pizza just a little while ago, which anyone watching the Delta Green session prep already heard about. Alan's hitting up the Discord with announcements. I keep forgetting. I figure everyone in the Discord already knows we're doing ArchoniaFest, but still good. Still good. Anyway, Low Light. Eric Agier, a.k.a. Enenbeck III. He's the Prince of Low Light. His father was murdered. He was framed for the murder. He's now the rightful king, but the people who framed him are the Atheum Cabal. The wizards, this cabal of wizards that were collectively appointed the vizier of, to the king of Low Light many years ago. Now that the king is dead, and there is no legitimate heir in the eyes of the law because Enenbeck III has been framed for that murder. And you can't come to power if you murder the previous king. So since there's no legitimate heir, the control would normally pass to the vizier, right? However, it's a bit of a gray area because the vizier is supposed to be one person. The Atheum Cabal is a group of people. It wasn't a problem before the king died. Now it's a bit confusing. So opinions on whether Enenbeck III is guilty vary, but suffice to say, the Atheum Cabal are the bad guys. They had Earthstall blockaded in a couple episodes back. They had Earthstall blockaded because they heard that our man was coming back. Well, under the command of Sally One-Eye, the Wayfarer and its two companion ships, the Salt Maiden and the, what do they call it now? They changed the name of it from what I called it. Whatever they call their other ship. They broke the blockade. They also had a little assistance from the Champion, the flagship of the Acladorian Navy, which is captained by Eddie Bones' girlfriend, Grace Bonney. Together they broke that blockade. Many of the ships, upon learning that they were fighting their own rightful king, changed sides. And of course the Champion joined the battle just because Lowlight and Earthstall are both member states of the allied Acladorian Navy. It's illegal for them to blockade each other. So that's why the Champion helped out. But in episode 26, they went ashore. That was a combat episode. I believe 27 is going to be largely a combat episode as well. So I'm here today to plan a combat because what we have is a reunion. We have Joshua and Carolyn, our two players who were regulars in Campaign 1, but had to excuse themselves from Campaign 2. They will be rejoining the table tomorrow night, Joshua in person and Carolyn remotely, in order to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. So we're actually going to have 6 players at the table. Or 6, 5 at the table, but 6 players in the session, which is a lot. Not for some people, but it's a lot for us. So I need to devise a combat that will be challenging for 6 level 7 player characters in Worlds Without Number. Now, if you don't know Worlds Without Number, it's basically an OSR type system. It's a little bit more advanced than some others in terms of the amount of character options and choices that you have to build out your PC. But like other OSR games, level cap is 10. So when we have 6 level 7 characters on the board, making a challenging combat is going to prove difficult. So let's see how well I do. One great thing about this book and all Kevin Crawford books really is the huge amount. Here's the physical copy over here. The huge amount of stuff that he puts in here that's just for GMs. Basically everything from page 114 on is GM facing. Really 94 because that's world lore. And we all know players don't read world lore. In fact, a few episodes back, I gave my players an impromptu quiz on the lore of Archonia. They did pretty well. So yeah, here's the physical copy. This is player facing and this is GM facing. And it's all really helpful stuff. Because that's how Kevin Crawford rolls. So let's see. I'm going to go, by the way, table of contents is one of the few complaints I have about this book. How am I ever going to find what I'm looking for? This is terrible. A 400-page book and the text in the table of contents is this size? Nah, man. But the bookmarking is excellent. So that's what I use. What I'm looking for is that monster stat table. Carlos says 6 level 7 PCs is a tough fight. I had 3 PCs and their minions. That's a lot of combat to plan for. Yeah. So this is my favorite page in the book. Every time we get in a fight, half the time I don't plan the fights in advance at all, right? I mean, like I have in my head that there's going to be a fight, but instead of sitting down like this, like I'm doing today to plan out, you know, the enemies and so forth, I will often I have a printout of this page and I'll often just pull that out and use the stats right from it. But today or this week, I'm going to need to save time. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to actually plan my stat lines in advance. So let me show you guys, first of all, why this is my favorite page. I'm going to zoom in because I know for some of you that's going to look real small. Oh, yeah, thank you. Carlos in the Twitch chat just put that the drive-through RPG link for this game. For the publisher, actually. Sign Nominate Publishing. I'm copying it over to YouTube now. So you guys can have it as well. Thank you for that, Carlos. Yeah, so in this system, enemies don't have like stat blocks. They have stat lines. All you need to know is what's on here, basically. How many hit dice do they have? Now, in Worlds Without Number, when you're creating a non-player character or an enemy, the hit die is always a D8. So you just roll that many dice. If I were making a peaceful human right now, he'd have 7 hit points. AC is 10. If you want, you can grant them armor. I never do that. It's a waste of math, right? The player characters are going to kill this guy anyway. Why not just use the armor that it says on here? That's what I do. Yeah, Carlos points out there are many free versions of Worlds Without Number and related games. That is true. What I have up here is the deluxe version. I'm not sure what's cut out of the free version. But yeah, by all means, go look for whichever one you want. Yeah, and there are Creative Commons licenses if you want to make supplements or something. So yeah, all you need is how many hit dice, what's the AC, attack, what's the damage. So this one, you do have to do a little bit of work to look it up. Weapon damage, or some of them, if they're powerful, will say weapon damage plus something. Weapon damage is generally, you know, just 1 hit die. There's probably a couple weapons where it's like 2d6 or something, but for the most part, I just wing this, you know. If he's got a sword, I'll make it 1d6. If he's got a sword and he sucks, I'll make it 1d4. If he's powerful, I might make it 1d8. Shock is a mechanic in the Without Number games. Oh, okay. Thanks, Carlos. But shock is a mechanic in the Without Number games where if you strike at your opponent in melee and you miss, but their armor class is below a certain threshold, then it will you'll hit them anyway. They'll always take a minimum amount of damage, even if you miss your attack roll. This sounds complicated, but it actually makes combat run faster when it comes into play. We often forget it, and then a lot of other times it doesn't come into play because the ACs are too high. But when it does come into play, people just fall quick, you know? One thing you don't want is combats to drag on. Movement is pretty much 30 feet for everyone. And I guess there's a few here that are more... Oop, I lost the page. Here we are. This is a morale score. Morale is what you roll. Basically, it's a mechanic for, are these guys too scared to keep fighting? I sometimes use it. For the most part, I think it is unnecessary. It is basically systemizing the idea of the bad guys have brains too. Basically, they're not going to fight to the death in every single fight, which I think is something that should be true in any system. But in Worlds Without Number, it's built right into the stat line. They have a morale score of 7. If something happens that seems like it should scare them, like their boss drops in the fight, or more than half of their number is down, or someone transforms into a werewolf right in front of their face, you roll a morale check to see if they keep fighting. Instinct check is similar. It's a mechanic that tries to replicate common sense and the loss of it. Basically, if the character is panicked by something or overwhelmed by something or startled or is in some way potentially not in complete mastery of his reason at the moment, the GM may decide it's time for an instinct check. And if that's the case, if you roll the instinct check and you fail it, then that character has to do something that's not ideal. Like he might attack the wrong person, or Carlos, give me some good examples of what a character might do if they fail an instinct check, because I'm blanking on it right now. But basically, it just means you make a non-ideal tactical decision because you're flustered. That's what an instinct check is for. And then skill, that just means if this character needs to do something and you think the character would be skilled at it, instead of having a block with all the skills like you would for a PC, you just use this number. For regular humans, it's like a +1. Yeah, Carlos is saying instinct check for a beast might be attack when they are supposed to. They could also start jabbering on if they're a dragon. Sure, yeah, could do that. And then save. So saving in Worlds Without Number is your save targets for physical saves, mental saves, evasion saves, and luck saves. They are all 16 minus your level minus an attribute, except luck. There's no attribute. So for example, if you're a level 2 character, your physical save is going to be 16 minus 2 minus the higher of your strength or con modifier. So it'll be, if you have a modifier of 1 in strength and you're a level 2 character, it'll be 16 minus 2 is 14, minus 1 for your con modifier or your strength modifier is 13. So your save target then for the physical save is going to be 13. You have to roll 13 or higher if the GM calls for a physical save in order to pass it. So that way, say in D&D 5th edition, if an enemy casts a spell on you or some other magical effect that calls for a save, you have to save against that enemy's number. The target number comes from what their spell save DC is. But in Worlds Without Number, you're always rolling against your own number. So you don't have to waste time trying to figure out what number you're rolling against. If it's a physical save, you can just glance down at your sheet, roll it real quick, you're done. So for these NPCs, these the higher the number, the harder it is to roll at or above it, of course. So for peaceful humans, regular dudes, 15 plus. So that's what, a 25% chance to, oh yes, what's Carlos say? Saves are D20, attacks are D20, skills are 2D6. Yeah, that's right. That's one difference. Really, I would say functionally, when you sit down to the table and playing, the first difference you need to know between D&D or other systems like it and this one is just that you use 2D6 to roll skills instead of a D20. Otherwise, it's very, very similar. It's got all the same attribute scores. Carlos is saying no crits or fumbles, except in my game. I do feel that the first few times my players rolled a nat 20, there was just a little bit of disappointment in the fact that it didn't mean anything, So I did apply a homebrew rule for it. If my players roll a nat 20, they do crit, but what it means, because the numbers in this system are pretty low, what I decided is a crit means you add half your level rounded down to the damage dealt. So it's not a massive boon like in D&D. You roll your dice twice, so you potentially double your damage, and a lot of people house rule that to max damage or max plus a dice roll. Here, I do give them something. It's a little bit extra damage. Right now, they're level 7 in the game, so if one of them crits, they're going to get +3 damage. Yeah, so it's like Carlos is saying, it's not a huge increase, but it's still going to reward them for that nat 20, which players like, in my opinion. But that's a house rule. That's not in the book. But what we have is, if anyone's watched Campaign 2, our 4 main player characters are Matt's character, Renly / Agarin / Asarius, who is a spoiler, a fox with a halfling familiar. So in the first several episodes, it was assumed that the halfling was the wizard and the fox was the familiar, but that was the reveal on that one. So now we know the fox is actually Matt's character. So we have him. He's the high mage / elementalist. And then Alan plays Eddie Bones, who is a werewolf, but we built that using 2 classes from here. One is healer, which is its own class, and one is skin shifter. Darian skin shifter in the book, but that's because that is a culture from the default world that Kevin Crawford has called Ladder Earth. We don't use Ladder Earth, so we removed the word Darian and just call it skin shifter. But healer plus skin shifter equals werewolf in our game. And of course, as a skin shifter, as he levels up, he gains the ability to transform into more things, which implies that Eddie Bones' werewolf curse is maybe more than just a werewolf curse. So that story is still ongoing. Yuri plays Sally One Eye, straight warrior, 7 levels of straight warrior. She does in fact have both eyes. And then, of course, I've already mentioned several times Aninbeck / Eric Agier. So Aninbeck is his name from birth. Aninbeck III, Prince of Lowlight, King of Lowlight now. Eric Agier is his assumed name that he was traveling under when he was in hiding. And then he recently learned that he is the reincarnation of the dead god of the elves, Lorien. So all 3 of those are his character name. If you watch the show, you'll see his name tag fades between the 3. But he is built as a necromancer and a cursed multi-class. Now, a cursed is from another book. There's an expansion to Worlds Without Number called Atlas of the Latter Earth, and it comes with a lot of different... a lot of new spells. I think there's new spells in it. Actually, I'm not sure about that now that I said it. But there are new character classes, new class options, and a new foci, which are basically like what feats are in D&D. one of the main reasons that we picked it up is because all the naval adventuring rules are in there, and this is a pirate campaign. So yeah, naval rules are in the expansion book. Although, of course, if you have Stars Without Number, which I haven't delved into too much, but I think that the ship rules in spaceships for Stars Without Number are very similar to the naval adventuring rules in Atlas of the Letter Earth. So all of that to say, those are our four main characters, right? We've got the Necromancer Accursed, the High Mage Elementalist, the Healer Skin Shifter, and the Warrior. Joining us will be Joshua. He has come in 2 or 3 times before with his guest character, who is a deep one, known as which is actually the character's name, even though everyone calls him Clicko. Clicko is a Beastmaster duelist. So he's built that way. He has a pet eel as his animal companion, an electric eel. And Carolyn is coming in as a new character, which I built for her, and I was trying to send it to her since last week, but I've been so busy. I actually just sent it to her a couple hours ago while Alan was doing his thing. Yeah, Carlos is confirming Stars Without Number and Atlas of the Letter Earth do in fact have similar ship rules. And that, by the way, is a great thing about all of the Without Number games, Stars Without Number, Worlds Without Number, Cities Without Number. They're systematically almost identical. The changes are only where they need to be for the setting in question. So you can use them together. And in fact, I don't know what I'm looking around for. The only other guy in the house already knows this. This hasn't been revealed on stream yet, except to our most keen-eyed of viewers. So plug your ears if you don't want to know. Alan's character, Eddie Bones, his most recent focus pick is actually from Stars Without Number, because we've already tied together our Cities Without Number campaign with our Worlds Without Number campaign through the revelation it's actually the 5th Age of Archonia. We are going to be bringing in Stars Without Number as a resource down the line. Once you get to level 10 in Worlds Without Number, you can continue your campaign, continue powering up your characters through something called the Legacy. You can make them legates. Long story short, I don't want to get into all that right now, but they'll continue to gain power. And as they do that, I'm going to be taking them into space. So right now they're level 7. They're going to have to hit level 10 and then continue to progress after that before all this happens. But Alan's most recent focus pick is a plant for later. It is, he took, I forget what the focus is actually called, but basically he's a psychic. He used it in our last session for the first time. He used it to get a vision of what would happen if he kicked in a certain door. And I told him, you will die in a fireball. And so instead he went in through the window. Fireball still happened, but he wasn't quite as far inside of it as he would be. Oh yeah, Carlos is saying Legate content is only in the deluxe versions of Worlds Without Number, which I think I did know but forgot. Anyway, so we've already started using some Stars Without Number specific content in our game to hint at the fact that soon these characters are going to be going into space, and that will not be unrelated to the fact that they recently discovered a flying pirate ship. So let's get some enemies on the battlefield. I'm going to put this over here. Do the thing. All right. First things first, let's get a table in here. How do you get a table in here? How many things do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Give me a table with 10, 11. Let's just assume I'm going to have at least 2 enemy types. I'll probably need more, but I'm going to just start. I'm going to start building out my stat lines on this table. Maybe I should have used a spreadsheet instead of a regular document, but who knows what else I'm going to want to put in here. AC, attack, damage, shock. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to start copying over stats from the stat lines I want to base my enemies on, and then I will change them as needed to make them enough of a threat to my characters. I will also put in specific numbers where there are placeholders in the book. So let's see. For example, their sort of cannon fodder enemies need to be pretty powerful at this point. So I'm going to take the skilled veteran stat line. But what we're going to have them fighting this week is actually orcs. Now, orcs in Campaign 2 Archonia are a little different than what you usually see in most fantasy settings. Long story short, my orcs here are inspired by those from the Lord of the Rings movies. They're just slimy, misshapen, all very different from each other physically, and gross and evil and enjoy being evil. As opposed to what you might have seen in Archonia's first or second age, and this has even been said in game, that the old orcs that are now extinct were different and were capable of becoming good people and were in fact part of the utopian empire of Archonia that ruled for 1,000,000 years in the second age. Those orcs are gone and the new orcs have arisen, and what they are about, where they came from, why they are the way they are, we don't know. So how many orcs am I going to put in there? I don't know. I'm re-rolling that because I just rolled snake eyes on the 2d8, and that's unacceptable. All right, there they go. They're going to have 8 hit points. That's more like it. I am going to just give them a 15 AC. That's probably fine. Attack is +3. That'll be good for them. They will never hit my enemies if it's any, or they will never hit my players if it's any less than that. Weapon +1. I need to look at the weapons block for a minute. What page am I on? 283. Okay. Equipment, weapons. See how great good bookmarking is in a game PDF? All game publishers take note. I just found this page in 2 clicks because of that bookmarking. Now, I want these orcs to have varied weapons, swords, axes, other hacking implements, but I don't want to have to differentiate numbers about it. So let's just take short sword and call it 1d6 damage. And it was 283, right? No, it wasn't. Oh, there it is. But this stat line does recommend +1. So I'll do 1d6 +1. Why not? Shock is weapon +1. I'm just going to say shock damage will be 2 with an AC of, I'll say 14 or lower. I don't have my players' character sheets in front of me. I don't know if that will hit any of them. I know it will hit the new character I made for Carolyn unless she is using one of her arts. I based her on a blood priest, by the way. Those of you who saw Carolyn's previous guest appearance know that she continued to play her same character from Campaign 1, who became a goddess near the end of the campaign, and is now one of the 3 death goddesses worshipped by almost everyone in Archonia. So she came in playing that character and played a goddess for 1 episode last time she guest starred. This time I told her, I don't want you to be a goddess. I need the characters to actually be under threat and not from you. So made her, she'll be coming in as a new character who will be a priestess, I believe, worshiping her old character. I did give her another option for what religion she could be. 70-80% sure she is going to be worshiping herself, but I'm not sure. Not 100%. Morale score of 9, that's fine. Instinct check 2, that's fine. Skill of +1, yeah, they're not going to be doing anything except fighting for the most part, so Don't need to worry about that. And a save of 14 plus. I am going to toughen him up by 1 point here. I'm going to make it 13 plus. So that's my rank and file orcs, right? But I do need to give the enemy the players some spellcasters to fight. Now there was a spellcaster that they were fighting in the last episode who got away. We're going to bring him back. I have not really gotten too much into building spellcasters in this system. So right here it says mages generally have the spellcasting and arts of an appropriate mage tradition at a level equal to their hit dice and effort equal to their skill bonus +2. I find that building enemies for the GM to run that have the same level of complexity to their stats that a player character would have can get a bit overwhelming, right? It's okay every now and then for a boss, but if I'm also going to be running, a dozen orcs in the same combat, I'm not going to want to track effort for an NPC mage or how many spells he's cast for the day. So what I will probably do is abstract that even more as I build this out, because I'm not going to want to be checking off spell uses or doing too much math as we go. I'm going to call this guy, let's see. I know that I built a stat line for this guy before, but he only barely did anything, and I'd like to rebuild him, so I'm doing it now. 8d8. I'm going to use the dice roller in my Discord for this because it's faster than tracking down 8d8s. Come on. Oh, there it is. 26. My guy's got 26 hit points. Took a long time. His AC is 13. That'll be fine. He'll be easy to hit if they can get up to him. Yeah, come in. Yeah. You heading out?
No, I gotta get sleep in my car.
All right.
I know, I'm not looking.
Get out of here, Eddie Bones. All right. Attack. +1. Yeah, he's not going to do too much physical attacking, right? He's the spellcaster. Weapon, he's just going to have a staff, really. So let's take a look at what that would be. Staff. So his damage for his weapon is going to be 1d6 +1, just like the orcs. Kind of makes me want to take it down a little. Nah, don't worry about that. Shock is 1 against AC 13. That's fine. Yep. Yeah, his movement's going to be the same as what's in there. Yeah, 30 feet. Oh, I see. I misremembered. It doesn't say +1. It says right, just whatever the weapon says. So 30 and then 9 morale. He's already run from them once, so I am gonna raise his morale a bit. I'm gonna call it an 11. 3 on instinct, +2 for skill. I'm going to up this guy's skills. 3's a lot. No, I'm going to leave it at 2. 3 is a lot in this system, by the way, for a skill bonus. Players are not able to get a +3 skill bonus until they are level 5 or 6. You have to cap your skill bonus at level 2. If you are unaware, let me show you what the character sheet looks like. It's going to be sideways when I get to it. Still scrolling. It's in the back here somewhere. All right, fine. I'll use the thingy. I'll use the index. Come on, I know I was looking at it earlier. It's in here somewhere. Well, whatever. Character sheets, you know what? I have one in a separate document. Like, I was just going to show you the skill sets, the list of skills for this game. And I will do that as soon as I open the sheet. Tabletop games. Big old folder of games for obvious reasons. Worlds Without Number. And, somehow my brick character sheet from Cities Without Number got into this folder. That's not right. Fishman. I have a copy of, it's now out of date, but this was the character sheet for Joshua's guest character. He does indeed love gold. These are the skills in Worlds Without Number. Administer, lead, sail, connect, magic, shoot, convince, notice, sneak. There's a lot of them. Craft, perform, stab, exert, pray, survive. Not as many as like Cyberpunk Red, but more, I think, than D&D 5th edition. Heal, punch, trade, no ride work. They're all basically what they sound like, you know. Pray is a knowledge check. You're not rolling to see how well you pray. It's kind of rolling to see how much you know about religion, how much you... and maybe if you are doing a religious ritual or something, I might call for a pray roll. But it's not literally just checking to see if you can pray. But I will apply it. Like one time I did apply it to actually praying for Eddie Bones, who was praying to his goddess Nakashi. And then she appeared. So these, I don't remember why I wanted to bring this up. But the skills are here. Now, this wizard character... Oh, yeah. Carlos is pointing out that for casters, certain skills also determine how much effort points they have to spend on their arts. Not all, well, and that's not just casters, right? Because all in this system, anyone who uses any sort of magical ability is considered a mage. So, like, there's a subclass called Vowed, which is basically the equivalent of a D&D monk, and that's considered magical, even though they don't cast spells. So an art is not a spell, but it is a sort of magical ability. And you track your ability to use these arts using effort. So, for example, the character I just built, Carolyn, is a priest, uses pray plus the higher, whatever her pray skill is, plus the higher of her wisdom or charisma modifiers. They were actually both +1 for her, and her pray skill was 3. So she has 4 art that she can use in a day. And when you spend the art, it will tell you, or when you spend the effort, the art will tell you how much to spend and in what manner to spend it. Right? So some of it is just you commit the effort until you want to stop, right? So it's kind of like concentration. You put the effort in, and as soon as you stop the effect, you get it back. For others, it's for the scene. You spend that effort, and you don't get it back till the scene ends. So if it's a combat, probably when the combat ends. Or if you're doing some sort of exploration, you guys know what a scene is in a movie or a TV show. The same kind of thing. It's just an abstract... when this part of the story's over, you get your effort back. And then the third way to spend effort is for the day. Some effort expenditures are for the whole day because that's the most powerful arts that you can use, and they don't want you to overuse it. 4 effort for a level 7 character is actually kind of a lot because she had a +3 in her skill. It's not the most it could possibly be, but yeah. Because you do get it back most of the time at the end of the scene, you don't get that much of it. Anyway, what is Carlos saying? All magic users are mages. Yeah, That's what I said as well. All use effort for their arts. Some don't cast spells but use it for powers. That's right. And those that do cast spells, it's a whole other thing. They have a number of spells they can cast each day. The spell levels go up to 5. And yeah, you can get spells of a certain level when your character is at a certain level. So that's good. Now what I need to do is pick which spells I want this guy to have when he combats my players. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to check on something else here. I do want to take one look at my big folder here and see if I can find where I built him out before, because it was pretty on the fly. And I want to remember what spells he had. What I will probably do later on is actually watch back the episode to remember, because that'll be easier for me. That's one good thing about having a show, is if you forget what happened in your game, you can just watch it again. Okay, let's see. Oh, well, this is from 2 episodes back. This is the stats for all the ships that they fought. I'm doing this off camera because I don't know what else is in this folder. Episode 6. No, I don't think it's going to be in here. I think I probably wrote it on paper. Pros and cons to that, by the way. Yeah, I don't have it in my Google Drive. But that's fine. I'll probably find it in my notebook later. I meant to bring that in here, but I didn't. So let's go through and see what spells we want to give this guy. Now I'm going to limit him to the high mage spell list at first. If I see something I really want from somewhere else, I will look into it. Now I am a firm believer that it is silly to restrict NPCs to the same rules that PCs use. Right? They're fundamentally different types of characters, and they're going to interact with magic and with the systems of magic differently, and that's totally fine. Plus, if you were to build this as a PC, there'd be no way to make it high enough level to be a threat, right? Because my player characters are already level 7. So even if I made a level 10, and even if there were only 4 of them, because we didn't have 2 guests that week, they'd wipe the floor with a level 10 character. Yeah, Carlos, counterspell is good. He's asking me, what do PCs like to do when attacking with spells? So Matt uses Elemental Blast a lot. Max uses his Accursed Blade. He had been raising corpses and using them. Undead creatures as a necromancer, he can do that. He has backed off from it since he met the Death Goddess and she put the fear in him. So he will probably be using his Accursed Blade more than anything else. I'm trying to remember what other sort of like damage things he has. One thing he's done a lot of, and that we've kind of flubbed a number of times, is he will cast, what's it called? I forget the name of it. I'll remember when I see it, but it's the spell that puts everyone to sleep within a 200-foot radius of where he casts it. And the way that we keep flubbing that is we forget that he's sometimes within the radius himself. The first time he cast it, we got that right. But a couple other times later, he put himself right out. Or he should have put himself right out and did not do it. Yeah, level 8 hit dice is a pretty decent mage type. That's right. These guys, I originally envisioned them as sort of hedge mages, not very powerful at all, just sort of chumps. Magic being fairly rare in Archonia to begin with. But now the player characters are heading for a collision with them, and by the time they get all the way to these mages, they might be level 8 or 9. So I have to power them up. But fortunately, there are lore reasons why they will have gotten more powerful since Eric last saw them. Some kind of counterspell is nice, and something that takes out the hordes of PC allies. Yeah, actually, I'm going to GM a way to take out the hordes of PC allies in advance. The party and most of their allies are already separated from the fleet that now follows them. But there were 4 or 5 NPC allies that they had brought ashore with them. I will probably brush past that with an intro statement of some kind, move things along to later in the day, say they split up. And I will only do that in a case like this where I have 2 guest stars and I need to make sure everyone has time to shine in the game, right? My players don't want me to be running 5 NPC allies in a combat when we only have 3 to 3.5 hours for the game to begin with, and there's 6 of them taking turns. They want their turns. So I'm going to remove those friendly NPCs before the fight. Wind of Final Repose. Yeah, that's the massive sleep spell. You're right. Yeah. So let's take a look at what spells this villain might have. There's one that he used that was fire. I think it was a level 3, if I remember correctly. It might have been 2. Let's see. What's a big fiery one? Oh, well, he's definitely going to want Expurgate Arcana. I'm going to actually, well, I'll take this. For now, I will paste the spell name in short description here. Once I have a decent list, I will go get the full description and just screenshot it into the document. Gosh, I'm trying to remember. It might have actually been an elementalist spell. Howl of Light. Yeah, you're right. It was Howl of Light. Thank you very much, Carlos. So this is what he already used. So obviously I have to give him that one because it's canon. Expurgate Arcana is good. He used that, I think, as well. Let's see what else we can give him. He's going to need to have some lower level ones too. So let's see. Damnation of the Sense. That's not really great for this type of combat. Cognitive Supersession of the Inferior Orders. I love the names, by the way. If anyone's ever read Jack Vance's Dying Earth, which people talk about Vancian magic being what D&D is based on, that's what they're talking about. Jack Vance's Dying Earth series, which is a series of short stories set in a literally dying Earth, a distant future. The sun's gone red. Time is running out, geologically speaking. But the names are like this. The names of the spells in that are like this. They're just lots of big words, unnecessary adjectives, overly complicated names for the spells. And I love it. I was doing it anyway in some of my stuff, even before we switched to Worlds Without Number. So I think it's great. Let's see. The Long Amber Moment. Actually, Matt has that one and has used it a few times. It's not necessarily combat relevant. It could be. Ward Pact Invocation. Make a target partially weapons immune or make a weapon useless. I am going to take Ward Pact Invocation. Let's see. I'm going to start organizing these by level, actually. And then Expurgate Arcana is 2. And then the Howl of Light is 3. I'm going to put the number of hit dice for these enemies in parentheses here, because there are effects in this game that target an enemy based on their level or hit die. And I don't want to forget when I'm at the table how many hit die came out to 26 when I rolled. So that's just a little note for me in case it comes up. So let's see. Torment of Tumefaction. Curse a foe with hideous disfigurements that hurt them if they act. Ooh, that's awesome. That's metal. I'm giving him that. Now, he's obviously not going to cast all of these because I'm going to give him a number of castings that is reasonable for an 8-hit die wizard. Violation of specified exclusion. Draw a line that bars targets of a particular obvious type or kind. That could be useful. But what I'd like to do is go up. What's Carlos saying? Mage isn't really limited by spells. They can cast all level 1 spells, all of the highest level they have, or something in between. Right, spells. It's not like spell slots like D&D where you have to spend a high enough slot. It's just a list of how many spells, period, that you can cast in a day. But I still want to give him a spell of at least each level. So I've already given him 2 level 3s. I'm going to look at level 4 here. Bind a target to obey a command. Now that's always good. Turning one of the allies against you. One of the PCs against the others. I don't know this word. Obnubilation of the will. I'm grabbing that. Temporarily. Tentatively. Let's see. Calculation of the phantasmal eidolon. Summon an obedient magical servitor that can fight for the caster. Contingent excision of arcana. Which is a kind of a more powerful version of expertate arcana. Cast the spell to later dispel magic as an instant action once. So you can, I'll read the long description in a bit, but I'm assuming that means you cast this in advance and then later on you can instantly activate it. Ochre Sigil of Juxtaposition swaps targets between a current place and a distant prepared one. I'm going to give him this. I probably will not use it this episode because we are going to want to make the most out of the 2 guest stars that we have, and that will mean not separating the party members from each other. Pierce the Pallid Gate, I will give him and potentially use it. Sigil of Aeolian Octoritas. Create a blast of air or control weather in a nearby area. Sure. Now, let's look at these 5th level spells. They are doozies. Abdication of Temporal Presence. Stop time for 1d4 rounds that you can't affect the world. Well, then who cares? Banishment to the Black Glass Labyrinth. That one I'm going to save for another higher level wizard. Excuse me, the Dazzling Prismatic Hemicycle. Blast targets in a 100-foot cone to inflict random gruesome effects. Definitely giving him that. I like the word gruesome. It's a good word. Deluge of Hell. Do 1d8 damage per level in a huge area, but risk taking a quarter of it. That might be a last resort kind of thing for him. Then what do we have? I gotta look at the schedule. I haven't heard from Jason today. He's supposed to be running Cyborg soon. What time do we have that scheduled for? 4:30. Okay, so an hour. An hour more of me before we do that. Yeah, so Deluge of Hell, do 1d8 damage per level in a huge area, but risk taking a quarter of it. Yeah, that's like if he needs to get out of there quick or if he's in danger of being captured, he might do that. The Earth as Clay, mold and shape natural stone and earth in a very large area. I'm going to look at that. That's interesting, but I don't think it's for this guy. Invocation of the Invincible Citadel. Create a force shield bubble as an instant action. And open the high road. I want him to have both of these. So this character is now significantly more powerful than I made him last time. Last time I limited myself to spells of level 3 or lower because this guy is like kind of an apprentice level member of the Atheum Cabal. Which is a great word, by the way. It's not mine. Max made them up. But obviously, if he needs to stand and fight against 6-player characters, he needs to be more powerful than I made him last time. And last time he didn't do much, so it's not really changing anything, you know, canon-wise. My rule is it's not canon unless it's happened at the table. And all that's happened at the table is he hid in a building and then cast the Howl of Light and escaped. So I'm going to take just a minute, take a little break to the restroom, and then I'll be back to clean up this sheet a bit and make it a little more practically useful. See you guys soon.
Hi, I'm Joshua.
Hi, I'm Mia.
Hey, this is Jason and Strelok.
Well, hello and welcome. I'm DM Scotty.
Hello, I'm Frank, creator of Hypertellurians, together with lots of great artists.
Hey everybody, this is Hankerin Fernale. And am I saying hello?
What is up? John Parsons here, aka Johnny Law, representing OSR Plus.
Oh, hi, I'm Kurt.
Hey, I'm Patty.
I'm Cindy.
Hi, I'm Daniel Flynn, the creator of Advanced Old School Revival.
Hi, I'm Edward.
Hey there, I'm Alan.
Hi, this is Yuri.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm the creator of Beyond.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hey, I'm Matt.
I am Death.
And welcome to ArchoniaFest 2024.
Check out my game of ECD6.
Hello, everyone. 50th episode. Episode 100 of Tales from the Backlog.
It's been enjoying it.
I have always been a huge fan.
Look forward.
Death in Space.
Welcome.
So excited that I got myself
Enough of what Steve is saying. To Shadows of Archonia 2, our weekly Worlds Without Number.
Oh, hi, I'm Joshua. Welcome to ArchoniaFest 2024. No way, man.
Heed well, listeners, for this world is darkness and pain.
I'm back. How's it going, gang? That's me turning off the fan. By the way, anyone who wants to can jump into our Discord. I've said this several times. If you are someone who's been on our stream before, then you have permission to be in our Discord on-stream chat voice channel. If you go in there, you'll be able to talk to me in real time here, and you will also be live to the stream. So, you know, don't go in there and forget you left it on, but you can come talk. The less this stream has to be just me talking, the better. Okay, so I have chosen some spells for my wizard. Now I'm going to put the full spell descriptions on this sheet to make it easier for me when the time comes. I may come back through and look at some wizard arts, high mage arts, to see what I can do for him in terms of just powers that he might have that aren't necessarily spell casting. Like I said earlier, I would not worry about tracking effort for an NPC. I think that's a little silly, especially if you want combat to run quickly in any way. But I may give him abilities that resemble these arts. Ward Pact Invocation. I need to find that. Spell description. Let's see. So these, I believe these are organized alphabetically without regard to what level they are, which is fine. But I am going to be pasting my chosen spells in level by level. So there's Ward Pact Invocation. Now, next I need Expertate Arcana. I'm not sure what it looks like on the stream when I do a screen grab like that. You guys can let me know if you want. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if the renderer grabs that. Oh. Sorry, I just read something in the Discord. All right, back to what I was doing. I need to get the Howl of Light in here. So if you do window key Shift S, you can take a screenshot of just a tiny part that you select and then paste it in. So I run into a lot of people that don't know that. I do it constantly for all sorts of things. The Torment of Tumefaction. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last word correctly. I believe I am, but I've only ever seen it written. Now this one I have no idea. Obnubulation of the will. That's a new one. Never seen that word before today. Well, I'm sure I have. I've read the spell list before, but never tried to say it out loud before today, that's for sure. I may... Well, never mind. Hey, thanks, Carlos. Yeah, makes it difficult to read. Well, that's okay. You know, I'm I guess the part here that I'm currently showing is in the free version of the document anyway. I am always a little bit wary about just flipping through people's books on stream, you know, because this is content you're supposed to pay for, but I guess this is the free section of the book anyway. Contingent Excision of Arcana. I am going to read this one right now because I'm curious about how it's different from Expertate Arcana. The caster sets up a triggered resonance of dispelling magic, which may later be invoked as an instant action. Until the next dawn, the mage may negate magic as if with an Expertate Arcana spell as an instant action. Once this negation is triggered, the spell ends. So that makes sense. You set up a trigger, and maybe the trigger is just you saying the word stop or snapping your fingers, and then Expertate Arcana is cast. That makes sense to me. Contingent Excision of Arcana. Ochre Sigil of Juxtaposition. I did choose more level 4 spells than the earlier levels, and level 5 as well. But that's okay. No one said that this had to be fair. Ochre Sigil of Juxtaposition. I talk a big game, about being a player killer, but I've only ever killed one PC in the history of this show. I know I talk about killing 5 of Joshua's PCs, but 4 of those didn't really count, right? Because only one of them was his real main PC for that campaign. And some of them weren't even being played as PCs in that campaign at all. They were old PCs of his that had become NPCs. So, yes, I did kill 5 of Joshua's PCs, but really only Throck. Raynar doesn't count because Raynar sacrificed himself in a move that was always meant to be. And what do you call him? Kiergan doesn't count because he died of old age after the campaign ended, although he is technically dead. The dazzling prismatic hemicycle. So yeah, if you want a little world lore that is definitely a spoiler, we used the collapse and rebirth of the entire multiverse in campaign 1, which was something that was happening anyway, way before we knew we were going to switch systems. We used that to explain the change in systems, which is something I've done before, way before I was streaming games. We switched from 4th edition D&D to 5th edition D&D. And I used a big multiversal world-changing event that was happening to explain why magic and powers and abilities work differently now. So we actually address it in canon when we switch systems. That is the reason things work differently in the 4th age than they did in the 3rd age, because when the multiverse grew back after collapsing down to the size of a single room, it grew back a little different than it used to be. What? Not that one. I need this one. Deluge of Hell. So the caster unleashes a consuming destruction on a visible point within 3,000 feet. That's a huge range. A torrent of eldritch ruin rains down from the heavens on everything within up to a 200-foot radius per caster level. 200-foot radius per caster level. So that'll be a 1,400-foot radius. No, this guy's 8. So it'll be a 1,600-foot radius. Inflicting 1d8 per caster level, 8d8 damage, with a physical save for half, and automatically killing all targets with 4 or fewer hit dice. Ooh, I friggin' love this. Yeah. Yeah. I think he might open the fight with this. Once they start wiping out the orcs. Invocation of the Invincible Citadel. If you want to call it a citadel just to make yourself feel more important, you can, but it is a bubble. The caster hurls up a magical shield that is impervious to almost all hostile powers. Unlike most sorceries, this spell can be cast as an instant action and immediately creates a transparent bubble of force around the caster with up to a 20-foot radius. Entities and forces outside the bubble cannot penetrate it, and the interior remains a warm, breathable, safe environment regardless of the exterior. Those within the bubble can pass out of it, but they cannot then return within. The bubble can be dispelled by appropriate magics, but other enchantments and attacks cannot harm it, nor can magical effects or material objects pass through it from either direction. Okay, so if you've cast this Invincible Citadel around yourself, it lasts until the caster departs from the bubble. So it starts where you're standing, but it doesn't follow you. And while you're in it, you can't cast further spells on people outside of it. Although, interestingly, you can cast spells on people who are in there with you. Yeah, Carlos, 1,600-foot radius is like a quarter-mile goodbye city neighborhood. You're right. And he could do that. He probably won't, because it does say up to 200 feet per caster level. So he doesn't have to make it 1,600 feet wide. Open the high road. That's what I'm looking for. The caster carves open a meta-dimensional gate. This is a lot of words for you make a portal. Yep. And I'll probably hand wave some of the specifics when I'm playing in real time because it's not important, right? What's important is, why do you need the character to cast that spell? Does it matter how far he can teleport? If he teleports to someplace the players can no longer find him? No. It doesn't matter if he's still in the city or if he's on the other side of the planet. Now, the things he casts against them in combat, that matters a little more. So he's supposed to have the equivalent of a level 8 spellcasting ability. So I am going to look at the table here for a full high mage at level 8. He can have up to 9 spells prepared. That is irrelevant to me. And he can cast 4 spells. That is relevant. So of these spells I've chosen, he can cast 4 of them. And I will just put that there so that I remember when the day comes. The day being tomorrow. What's going on over here? Oh, if anybody's bored with me, it looks like... Oh, never mind. Never mind. I was going to go tell you about Matt's stream starting up, but it looks like it's not. Okay, Mia's having a hard day in the Discord. I guess she's been attacked by her cat. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so my guy can cast 4 of these spells or cast the same one 4 times or whatever combination. So I will have that option available to me. I believe he's going to cast Deluge of Hell right out of the gate. Ah, Mia's in the chat here. You all right? Is your liver all right? She's all right, everyone. So now I want to revisit the arts, because even though these spells are very powerful, even if he casts one every single turn, if the fight goes on more than 4 rounds, he'll be out of stuff to do. So let's look at some of the arts. Yeah, Carlos, you're right. I was saying that I wanted to get rid of some of the PC allies before the combat even starts. There are some of them that I should not wipe out immediately. Yeah, pretty boy, you can jump in the Discord. Absolutely. I'm just doing session prep for tomorrow night's Archonia game. Hey, man.
Oh, very cool.
Well, I'm not hearing you. Hold on a second. Not coming to my speakers. Let me make sure that is happening. All right, say something else.
Hello.
Hey, man.
What's up? Muting the stream now so I don't hear myself twice.
Alrighty. How you been? How was work?
It was good. Just got home. So can you remind me the system that you're using tomorrow?
Sure. The system is called Worlds Without Number.
Made by Max, right?
No. It's unrelated. Max's game is called Beyond the Obsidian Veil, and he's got 2 sort of light versions of it called Beyond the Light and Beyond the Stars. Now, this game,
okay.
Kevin Crawford, he sold much more copies of it than Max's 0. Boom. Yeah, he's quite accomplished. The same guy wrote Stars Without Number, if you know that one. We played it on Backlog way back. You weren't in it, but we played it. Me and Alan and Sarah and I.
Nice.
And they also do Cities Without Number. If you've seen any of the Midlight City story that Matt's been running, that's the same thing as well.
I think I remember seeing some of those streams happening. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. Sitting down on trying to catch a stream is really hard.
Oh, Carlos joined our Discord. Hey, man.
He wants to join the talk. So yeah. You were going over spells or art or what?
Yeah, so I'm prepping NPC dudes, enemies. Yeah, Carlos is a character name. I knew that because I saw you in the other Discord. What was I doing? I was going to find some art. So what I've done here, let me show you something about this system here. Enemies only have these stat lines, right? They don't have big stat blocks like they do in 5e. Now, I was already telling the stream this, but now that you're here, I'll just tell you. So I don't know how much of this you can see. I'm going to embiggen.
Yeah, some embiggening would help.
There we go.
Enhance.
Enhance. Zoom and enhance. Boom. Okay, so
let me up the stream quality.
They're going to be fighting orcs for their sort of, cannon fodder enemies, and the Master Wizard will be their boss for this fight. And there's going to be all 6 of them because Joshua and Carolyn are guest starring tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already rolled, but if you were to look at one of these stat lines in the book, this it would just say hit die, and then like this was a 2. When you do Worlds Without Number, enemies always, or all NPC characters always have a D8 for their hit die, and how many hit die they have is equivalent to how many levels a PC would have.
Oh, okay. So like there's no delineation between like your caster and your punchy boy.
No, there is in that you have spells, right? But
not in the hit points category.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, yeah, I mean, well, let me show you the book page that has like a big list of these. So
I'm sure you've gotten really good at on the fly managing your OBS this week.
Yeah, I have. I'm just fortunate that right now I'm sitting at the computer instead of like on Friday nights when I'm across the room from it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you can see this, but like it'll show.
Yeah, this is easy to read.
Yeah. And I was saying to the stream earlier, a lot of times I don't even do what I'm doing now and like make up the stuff in advance. Like a lot of times I have this printed out and I have it with me at the table and I'll just decide right there, hey, how tough do I need this to be?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you don't need obviously these are just examples of the type of enemy that would have it. Like if I'm using the veteran soldier stat block, it doesn't mean that they're literally fighting a soldier character, but it's just someone about that powerful. And then down here you can see the spellcasters. Even a petty mage has 2 hit dice, which is more than like barbarian fighter has.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's because the assumption is if you're fighting a spellcaster at all, you've got a few levels on you, you know?
Okay. That's cool. This so I played a decent amount of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
And this is like, it's a stat line. You have your weapon profiles and stuff and your profiles for your toughness and stuff, which is good. This is cool.
Yeah. So that's how that works. And then I am building a master wizard for them to fight. I altered the numbers a tiny bit, but basically it's that stat line. And I just chose some spells, but I was going to go look at some high mage arts to see if I can give him any additional abilities. And that is the one thing, even no matter how hard they try to make it simple with these stat lines, as soon as you introduce magic, you're going to have some actual written up abilities.
Yep.
So I'm going to go look at that. Let's see. High mages, and there will be an arts list on the next page. All right. Arcane lexicon. I'm only looking for combat useful ones right now. Counter magic. Commit effort for the day as an instant action when a visible enemy mage casts a spell. So what I'll probably do instead of tracking art is just give him a certain number of uses of each of these abilities. Let's see. Counter magic. Let's see. Empowered sorcery lets you re-roll any variable die roll associated with the spell's effects. Nah. Hang sorcery. Oh, I remember this. The spell does not go off but remains hung, waiting to be triggered as an on-turn action. That seems potentially situationally very useful. I'm going to give him this one. I'm not going to give him too many of these arts because I don't want it to be hard to run him.
It's the hard part when you're having like high-level marshals fighting alongside high-level casters.
Yeah.
You're very rough. Let's see. What is this item called? I'm doing something else on my side.
No worries. All right, I'm going to give him suppress magic and swift casting. I think that'll be it. Yeah, that'll be it. This guy's ready. I just need to reread him later before the game to remember what he can do. But basically, I'm just going to make these guys fight the whole time. That's my plan for the reunion game.
Very cool.
So one thing you don't want is to come to a tabletop RPG just for one session and not get to use any of your combat abilities.
That's true.
It's going to take a while for 6-player characters to do a combat, even in a system this simple. Carlos said Vanessa needs a calyx for one escape with a teleport scroll. What's a calyx? I don't know that word, Carlos. Oh, calyx is a scroll. Okay. Well, I gave him a couple teleport spells, but you're right. You know what? You're so right. I'm just going to...
We're going to do it right now.
Yeah. I'm literally just going to screenshot your comment and call that the ability. And I'll say it's an on-turn action. Nah, I am going to make it a main action. I do want them to have at least some chance of catching this guy. I don't want it to be totally impossible for him to be caught or killed. But that's a good suggestion. He does have some teleport spells, but they're a bit more unwieldy than that. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so whenever I have a guest star, which we don't do much on Archonia, you've done it once. Canuck did it once. Eric did it a few times, and Sarah, all in campaign 1. I always try to make sure that they get a chance to role play and to do some combat because, you know, for that night, they're a player. And for them, for that player, this is the whole campaign. So I want them to get a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one thing that is really hard to capture is like getting to play with everyone and how they play, because that dramatically changes like their experience, right? Like I actually really want to play a game with like Alan, right? Yeah. Just because because I mean, like doing combat with people is kind of whatever. It doesn't really matter who's there, but getting to role play with like different personalities is a lot of fun. And it's one thing that I wish I got to hang out with you guys more often is like I've played with Sarah and Jason obviously a bunch, and I kind of know how they are and what they like to do in some cases, right? And it's really fun. And then, but you know, like Alan, I'm going back to him, and Matt are like two people like I really wanted a chance to play with at some point, but it's hard to make that happen with me being online.
You're in another place. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So everyone, I know you just got here, Cody, but I am going to take a break. We have Cyborg with Jason running it in half an hour. Today is kind of my more chill day. There's 2 games, just like there has been every day. But they both are fully remote, which means I get to sit here and play them instead of setting up in the big room. And also there was a good segment there where it was just Alan talking and I didn't have anything to do. But nonetheless, I am still going to take a little half-hour break here before the Cyborg game. And some of that half hour will be spent setting up. So thank you everyone for watching me get my enemies together over here. If you want to know how they're going to be used, watch tomorrow night. I was debating briefly making this whole prep session on stream about building out the terrain on the table. But I decided I didn't want to. So I'll build that out off camera at some point before tomorrow night, and we'll see everyone in half an hour for Cyborg. Thanks, everybody.